Welcome back. This is Science 6, Chapter 8, Section 1, Graphics, Part 2. Okay, so where we left off last time we were wondering what are standards of qualities. And these are set limits for the amount of chemicals, microorganisms, etc. that are in the water. The government, we have learned that there is a certain amount of bacteria that we can consume in our body and not get hurt. However, if we go above that limit, we're all going to start getting sick. And so there are these standards of quality, and these people come out and they test the water to make sure that we are not going above that limit. Sorry for the ruffling paper sounds behind me. So number 9 is set limits for the amount of chemicals, microorganisms. So I'm going to draw a little standards of quality bacteria man. Okay, and here is the door to the water. Obviously, we're just kind of speaking figuratively here. And this is my little standards of quality guy. And he decides who can come in and who can go into the water. Because if we have too much bacteria, it's going to start making everybody sick. So this is kind of my doorman. And he's saying, sorry, no more germs allowed. And this is the way to the water. So number 10, give you a minute to finish drawing that picture. Because number 10 wants to know what are the steps in a water treatment plant. When a town or city has water, it will recycle it. It'll go directly from your house to a water treatment facility and then be reused again. But there are some steps it has to go through before it can be reused. And the first thing it has to do is it has to be filtered. So the steps in water treatment, the first step is it has to be filtered. Then a chemical is added and it causes clumping. So all the solids and stuff come to kind of clump together with this chemical. It's called a coagulate. They coagulate. So you get this glob. All right? Then it gets filtered again. All those globs get filtered out. So it's filter, coagulate, filter. And the last step is they'll put chlorine in it to treat it, to keep the bacteria from growing. So it gets treated. It gets chlorinated. And then it's returned back to your homes. And that's a process that we use in order to clean our water supply. Number 11, how is water distributed to the homes? Well, there's 2 ways it can get distributed. One is it can get pumped to the homes, and throughout a city or town you'll see pump houses that encourage the water to go further. They kind of pump the water further. Or they have water towers, and we use the water towers to increase the pressure. So number 11, because the water is way high up in a water tower, it has gravity pulling it down. And that pull of gravity is going to cause that water to go a lot further than if it was just laying flat on the ground. If I just had it flat on the ground and opened the gate, the water would only go so far. But if I hold the water way high up in the air and then release the gate, the water is going to go a lot further. So we use a water tower in order to increase the pressure by using gravity. Or we could use a pump. And I'm going to do my best drawing of a pump. Not very good at it. And the pump that we have is not this archaic. This is just an example. Our pumps are electric powered. Okay, so 2 ways that we can get water to homes is through a pump or through a water tower. If we have a private well, we're going to have a pump. Sorry, that blue line just kind of drew there by itself. So number 12 wants to know how we treat wastewater. Again, the sewage goes down the drain or down the toilet. It's filtered, treated, and returned right back to the water supply. So let's draw a picture of a sink. Kind of looks like a happy face, doesn't it? Okay, so the water goes down the drain, goes to a water treatment facility where it gets filtered, goes through a filter system, then it gets treated. Remember, it gets coagulated, filtered again, and then treated. And then it goes right back into our water supply. And reused. Okay. Number 13, what happens to untreated wastewater? So what happens to the water we decide not to treat? Where does it go? Water that we don't treat, some of it gets dumped into rivers and oceans. Okay. Some of it is used, this stuff that we pull out of the wastewater when we coagulate at treatment facilities. We'll take that, it's called sludge, and we'll take that sludge and we'll sell it to farmers, or we'll give it to farmers, and farmers will put it in their fields, which works very nicely because it acts as a very good fertilizer. So this sludge might get used in farmland for agriculture as a fertilizer. I know people have heard of using like farm animal waste and churning it in their garden in order to make their gardens grow better. Well, we can do the same thing with human waste. Gray water is used in cooling towers and for irrigation. So gray water, there's black water, which is your sewage water, and there's gray water, which is like your shower water, your sink water, stuff like that. Industry has gray water where it's not really polluted with feces and things like that. It just has, it's just used, has oils and stuff in it. So this gray water might be used in cooling towers to cool machinery. So this is what happens with untreated wastewater. Now, in rural areas, their water doesn't get treated the same way. It doesn't get pumped to a treatment facility. Every house has its own type of treatment facility, and that's called a septic system. And so how a septic system works is that you have your house and everything gets flushed down the drain into this great big box that's buried underground. This box contains bacteria in it that eat away at the solid waste and the particles, and your septic tank should get pumped out every 7 years to get rid of any other stuff that doesn't get broken down. And then that helps filter and take out some of the solid particles. Then the water gets pushed through a pipe to another location around your house called a leach field. That is just a series of pipes with teeny tiny holes in them. And around each pipe you're going to have a lot of gravel and stuff that acts as a filter. So the water goes through the teeny tiny holes in the pipe, through the gravel, and back down into the groundwater supply, and it gets filtered as it goes back down into the groundwater supply. And then that water eventually is reused. Though it has to be filtered. You can't have your leach field really close to your well. It needs to be very, very far away from your well. So this is your septic system, or your septic tank, and this is your leach field. Okay. And number 15, last one, wants to know what are septic tanks, which I just explained. We're just going to go into more detail here. And this is an underground tank that contains bacteria. These little red things are my bacteria. Okay. That treats wastewater. And filters out sludge and before it's released into the leach fields. So your sludge is going to be down here on the bottom. Again, every 7 years you want this to be emptied, because if this stuff gets backed up, it's going to go back through the pipes and up into your sink and your shower and your toilet and stuff and overflow into your house. And that's the end of Chapter 8, Section 1 notes. Make sure these things get put in your pocket folder.